Welcome in to another edition of Kickin' It. I'm Grant. Can you stop? I'm doing an intro, and I'm trying to be professional, and you're over there just clearing your throat. I'm Jeff Woody. I'm here with Grant Mahoney, who's just capitalizing the podcast with your coughs.
I thought I was quiet. Sorry.
Anyway.
Sorry about that.
Sorry about that. I didn't mean to. I'm so sorry. We are, as always, brought to you by Kelderman Manufacturing, kelderman.com. As per the usual, if you have not checked out Kelderman, that's on you. That's not on me. We have a fun guest today who has the amount of stories that this human being has are extremely high. The amount of stories that you can tell on a podcast is about 40% of that. So we tried to get as many of these as we could. But this is not one that if you have kids in the car and you tend to listen to the podcast with kids in the car, this is one you might just pause until you're like mowing the lawn, because this is a fairly explicit episode, which I'm both sorry for and also you're welcome by the time we're done. Grant, who do we have on today?
Mr. Jacob Lattimer, as you could tell by the headline in the podcast that you clicked on.
It's in the title. This is 2024. There's no reason for a tease. So
Kickin' It. They're interviewing Jake Lattimer. Yeah.
Oh,
we are.
Click. Yes, it sure is.
Today we are.
So without further ado, this is Jake Lattimer. Just a blast.
And now we welcome in the biggest badass I played with in college, defensive lineman Jake Lattimer. Jake, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing great, boys. How are you doing? Big J, Jeff Swinging Woody, and Mahoney, Grant Mahoney. How you doing?
Dude, we appreciate you hopping on with us. We've had some fun guests so far in our summer series here. We got a feeling you're going to be a good one here too. So I kind of hinted at it in the intro there, Jake, that you are the biggest badass that I ever played with. How did you get?
That's a label. That's a label. That's actually a label of biggest badass.
Yes. So you do have badass tattooed on your butt cheeks. How did that come about?
That is a fact.
ASS. The S is our money signs.
You know, whenever people leave the chair and they're like, "Hey, man, that's my chair," and you're like, "No, your name's not on it." But when I was in high school, there was a bunch of us that were like, "We need to make sure let everybody know, like, we're badasses." So we wanted to get a friendship tattoo all together, and it was during the Jackass time where it was like, "Oh, your mom's name." We're like, "Oh no, we don't want to disrespect moms. Like, moms are off limits." No. And we had some other dumb ideas, and I think somebody was like, "Oh, dude, let's get badass. You know, bad on one cheek, ass on the other." And sure enough, like somebody's was like, "Man, my mom would not like profanity on my butt. We're really religious, you know." And we're like, "Dude, no, it won't be profanity. It's two money signs." So we're thinking with our noggin, you know.
What a workaround.
Bad on one cheek, a money sign on the other. We're like, yeah.
Also, is mom looking? Like, is mom looking at a bare naked ass on a high? It feels like that's one of those the water boy situations where what mama don't know can't hurt her.
Well, Mama Lat knew 2 days after. We got them done, and I don't know if you ever had a tattoo or not. That's the only one I've ever had. But it felt bad. Like, it was sunburnt, man. You know, like it felt like it was a bad sunburn on my butt. So every time I went to sleep, I'd sleep on my belly, and I'd pull my underwear up my crack just unknowingly. And she walked in one morning and was like, "Did you get drunk last night? You're not supposed to be drinking. Who Sharpied on your butt?" And just said bad on one side.
Yeah, Mom, it's
What's the other side say? And I'm like, "Huh? What are you talking about? I don't know." And she just pulls it up, and she's like, "Jacob Richard Glenn Lattimer," and just starts whacking. I'm like, "Ah, it hurts."
That's funny.
That's even better. That's so much of a better story.
Mama knew pretty quick.
What's funny too is when we would wear white pants or even like the yellow ones, if you would sweat enough, you could see it through your pants.
Oh yeah. Well, it just let everybody else know on the field, like, hey, you know,
badass.
This guy's a badass.
I'm walking back for the play. That's who you just met, badass.
That's great.
But the thing is, so for those that I think one of the fun things about this show is that we get to talk about a lot of the you know, everyone loves the McCarney era and everyone obviously loves the Campbell era, but there's like, we were in the in-between times. And I think one of the fun things is that if people forget about a lot of the games, there's a lot of 48 that was in the backfield on a lot of different plays. I believe if you go back and watch it, there is a consistent thing that happened after a sack happened, which is that Laddie had himself a celebration. Where did that come from? What's the story behind the Lattimer when you got a sack or a TFL?
We were just like at a hometown bar one night, and it was whenever like Turtle Man was on TV. If you guys remember him,
Turtle Man,
he'd be going through
live action.
He's like, yeah, live action. Like I think me and some of my friends were at a bar one night on break or something, our whole like 7-day winter break or whatever, and we just started like just screaming yee and yee the whole time, and we're kind of redneck back in Southeast Kansas anyway, and not very far from where Coach McKnight lives. He lives in Southwest Missouri, so he kind of knows that type of culture and those type of people. But we're just in the bar just yee-yeeing it up and doing all kinds of standing on tables, and slamming beers and just being stupid young kids, So it ended up, and Matt Talfo was with me one time, and Darius Reynolds came back money, and it was one of those times where like, oh, dude, yeah, that's hilarious. So I started doing it during our practices and games.
That's great. I thought I remember one time like a ref had told you to tone it down or something. Maybe not.
Well, we were in Texas, and like he kind of like chest bumped me a little bit. So I was like, dude, what?
Yeah.
Everything's bigger in Texas, including your egos, but yeah. But yeah, it was after I sacked one of the, I think it was like Gilbert was a quarterback or something, and like it was a big inside move. Got through 2 offensive linemen. It was exciting, and I was just like, yeah, and he was just like, hey, whoa, slow, calm down. I'm like, dude, there's like 105,000 people here. Like we haven't beat Texas in I don't know a decade or 2 or something.
Never.
Ever
at that point. Never had.
And I was just like, I'm excited. He's like, you need to calm it down. I'm like, okay, sorry, Iowa State's in here beating your asses,
Hey, for those audio listeners, there was a horns down count is right now 1.
So Lat, you were a JUCO guy coming into Iowa State. And I can't remember when your first year was, 2010 maybe. How did you get to Iowa State? You want to take us on your recruiting journey from high school to JUCO to Iowa State?
My first year at Iowa State was 2009. Coach Rhodes.
You were the same recruiting class as I was. Yeah.
Okay.
So coming out of high school, I wasn't really highly recruited. I think my coach had like some ties with K-State or something and a few other schools. Like NAI schools, like, yeah, dude, come play for us. And
like Southeast Kansas being where? Like what's the nearest major municipal area for where you grew up?
Pittsburgh, Kansas has a Division II school down there, Pitt State. We're about 45 minutes north of there, but Kansas City is probably the biggest metropolitan area, and it's like an hour and a half north. There's a highway called 69. We just straight down 69 south, and you run into Fort Scott. But I just coming out of high school, I wasn't really highly recruited. Just probably bigger, faster than most of the guys I played against. So people were like, "Oh, we'll like to have him on our team if we were NAI school or junior college school." But I snapped my leg my last game of my high school career. I was a running back, believe it or not.
God bless him. God bless him.
I was probably about 6 foot flat, maybe 210. Could run way better than what I ever did after that. But I snapped my leg, had to get 2 screws and a plate in my ankle, and my career was over. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm done. I'm going to go work construction with my uncles. They make good money. My mom said, you don't get to live here in my house if you're going to go work construction. You're going to go to college.
Yeah.
So a couple of my friends were going to go to Hutchinson Community College. One of my best friends growing up, Chris Banks, and my other friend, Dakota Gettler, and my older friend, Jacob May, was going to be out there. So I was like, I guess I'll go try to play football out there. And I asked the coach, and he's like, dude, we'd love to give you a junior college scholarship.
Cool.
Which is with some tuition. Full ride, But I go out there and have a great summer camp. And then I go to the Shrine Bowl, which is the Kansas All-Star game. And the practice before the game played out in Hayes, Kansas. I break my right foot. Just running down the field, just randomly playing on it.
Was your left foot you broke?
It was my right foot.
So you broke your right foot twice then?
So I broke my left leg.
Oh, left leg.
Left ankle, and then I broke my right foot.
Gotcha.
So I had to sit out a year, medical redshirt, my first year junior college. And then actually my brother got on staff. He became the linebackers coach, and I played linebacker.
Did you play linebacker before he got there, or was that when he became linebackers coach, you then switched over?
Yep, I was just going to play linebacker because during that time from high school to junior college, I actually grew to be like 6'2.5", put on 40 pounds, and I was never going to be running back again. So went there, just played one season. After a medical red shirt, I thought I did pretty good. I led the conference in tackles and top 5 in sacks as a strong side linebacker. And I was like, man, like not really getting any offers, and all these other guys are getting offers. Long, crazy story there, but I ended up getting second team all conference. I'm like, what the heck? Like these 2 dudes in front of me got first team, Jaquan Williams and Levante David. Who are these losers?
Yeah, who's Levante David?
Yeah, he still plays in the NFL. But anyway, just I always wanted to play at K-State. I'm a Kansas kid. I wanted to play at KU or K-State, be close to my family, and it never happened. The guys recruiting me were like, man, we got a scholarship coming. We might not. Just kind of playing that game. And long story short, our head coach was kind of hiding some scholarships from me, which selfishly he wanted me around another year to help out the team and whatnot and win for him. But I didn't want to stick around another year. I wanted to go play. I wanted to see how good I was compared to everybody else. And I felt like the Big 12 conference was the best conference in the nation. And I wanted to see how good I was against those guys with competition. But Coach Bray actually calls me personally on my cell phone.
Rest in peace.
God bless
Like,
Coach Bray.
Love that man. He big part of my experience there at Iowa State. I think I was a big part of his too, in a good and negative way.
He was
A
probably
lot of early mornings he did not like to get up for.
Between you and Irving, I feel like you probably led the team in, led Coach Bray's team in 3 a.m. phone calls.
Well, we'll get to that. But yeah, he called my personal cell phone, and he's like, "Hey, we want to offer you a scholarship. Would you want to come up on a visit?" And I'm like, "Sure, Iowa State." This is how football intelligent I was at the time. I was like, "What conference you guys playing?" He's like, "The Big 12 conference." I'm like, "Oh yeah, like K-State, KU, Texas." And he's like, "Yeah, man." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool. I'll come up and check it out." Come up, check it out. In the meantime, Coach Burnham, Wally and Shane are calling me. Coach Rhodes calling me. They're great guys. Very, very good conversations. We get there and show me the campus. Go around. I'm like, man, this is awesome. This is cool. Like, only campus I've ever known is Hutchinson Community College. And my brother, he was a Hall of Fame player at Pitt State. So I went down to Pitt State, watched him. But their stadium holds like 13,000 people and it's a small campus, Division II. But I was like, man, this is a cool place. Well, in the meantime, K-State was like, man, we're going to give you a scholarship. So Coach Rhodes offered me a scholarship out on the field. And I was like, man, I just want to be honest with you, Coach. Like, I'd really love to play in my home state. My mom's closer. She can come watch all my games. And he's like, all right, well, we got a couple guys we're going to give a scholarship to if you don't get back to us by the end of the week. Well, I never get offered by anybody else. Like University of Alabama, Birmingham, and Louisiana Monroe offer me. And so I'm like, yeah, I'm coming to Iowa State, baby. Let's go. Go Clones. Once I accept my scholarship from Iowa State, tell my head coach at my junior college at Hutchinson Community College, and he's pissed. He's like, what are you doing? That team sucks. You're never going to play. They were 2-10 the other year, whatever. I'm like, Coach, I just want to play 3 years. I got 3 years eligibility left. Like, I just want to play. And then he gives me a stack of envelopes. Here's all the other ones that you could have went to, dumbass. I'm like, okay, well, you're not a great guy.
Yeah,
that could have been provided on an earlier time frame.
Yeah, but so I'm making my way up to Iowa State, and the rest is history at that point. Great friends, great experience. Lived like a rock star up there, and it was fun time of my life.
Really was. Big fish in a small pond.
Yeah, for sure. But that's the story, kind of getting to Iowa State in a nutshell.
So we had Yancey McKnight on last week, and we brought up your name, and we'd said we're gonna be interviewing you here soon, and he's like, oh, Lat, love him, good dude. And even though I saw Coach Rhodes at Cecil's visitation and funeral over the weekend, rest in peace, amazing man. And I told Coach Rhodes, just said hey, and he's like, Lat, good guy.
Thing about Lattimer,
I tried calling his office at Boston College the other day, and the secretary's like, he don't work here anymore.
No, he does. Yeah, he doesn't.
Like, good to know.
Yeah, they I guess I'm not sure how much I should say, but Bill O'Brien offered him the job, and he was like, I don't think so. So he's back in Gulf Shores.
Living on a beach, coaching high school kids.
Well, he's not sure he's gonna get back
Oh.
into high school yet. So
So living on a
my
beach.
my brother's brother-in-law actually lives in Gulf Shores. So
Beautiful place.
yeah, they said it's really pretty there.
I have an aunt that lives in Daphne, which is like 45 minutes north. So it's a beautiful place down there.
I went to Destin, which is about 2 hours away from there. Senior spring break of college.
Was that with Bill Blank?
Where my
aren't you just a traveler there, G-Money?
Say it again.
Aren't you just a well-traveled person?
No, that was just senior year, and people are going to what's that place down there?
PCB?
No. Yeah, PCB. We're like, oh, let's go to Destin, a little cleaner. And your boy wore his pink hoochie daddy shorts, and that was that.
Picked up 3 STDs.
Yeah, 4. So when we had Yancey on, he had mentioned a little interaction because we had talked about the fourth quarter.
So let's before I'm going to interrupt that preface
Sure.
because did you know that all the fourth quarters were videoed and that the coaches watched them back? Did you know that?
I remember like every now and then they would because they'd try to catch the errors and flaws we had. I was talking with Matthew Teufel earlier.
Yeah,
and I was like, dude, what were those off seasons called? Because we had fourth quarters, then we had 4 quarters, and then we had like these station rotations. I remember. And they were a little different, but they're all like accountability pieces. Like I think 4 quarters is when we had offense versus defense, and you had to do like your specific position.
Oh
drill.
yeah, no, 40 plays. That's what it was.
Yeah.
40 plays.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, 40 plays.
40 plays and fourth quarters. Those were the two. Because
if you played with your left foot instead of your right foot, coach would like hand up and like, no, they missed. And everybody's like, what the hell are you doing?
that was one with 40 plays, which again, that was a random interjection. But 40 plays, I remember that was the most praise that I got, and it was I joked with Yancey to this because Pope was the one that was overseeing it. I think EA was over there too, but Yancey would kind of like move around every once in a while, and I beat James and Chantrell and those guys in a sprint for a while. I was like, this white kid from Iowa's beating you in sprints, and I was that is the most proud that I have been on a practice field in my entire life. So anyway,
I don't know what I was doing during these 40 plays because that does not ring a bell for me.
You son of.
I was probably just curled up in my locker taking a nap.
So over there hanging on the sideline, waiting to get chewed out by coach.
No, I didn't get chewed out.
I got one I'm going to bring up here after a bit then.
Yeah, that's fine. So we had talked about Yancey because we brought up the fourth quarters how he almost made me shit my pants pert near. So I had to go out and poop in the rocks and wipe. We know that story. And then we brought up an incident with you and Albert Gary. Can you tell us from your point of view what had happened there, and if you need Jeff to interject because he remembers it more than I do? I'm sure he'd be happy to do so.
And Albert and I were always fine and cordial. And
yeah, you guys were.
After he calmed down about it, I mean, he realized he was wrong. And I'm never wrong. We're doing these drills and coaches throw up a flag if somebody messes up or whatever, and we're having to do up downs.
Because this is during fourth quarter.
As we're rotating, you do as many up downs, whatever, I think. And Eric Anthony, EA, one of our assistant strength coaches, throws up, hey, we have an error on Albert Gary. And Albert talks back. He gets disrespectful.
To the coach.
Won't leave it, keeps going. We're doing up and down the field because of it. He's still jawing and stuff. I'm like, Albert, you need to shut the fuck up, dude. Just do the up downs. And he's slow. We're all still doing me. I walk. I'm like, get your ass to the finish line. We need to get done. I don't know what he says to me, but he says something I don't like. So I'm like, you little mother. And he stands up in my face. I'm like, well, you initiated because you stood up in my face. So I just grab him and just
give Albert's
a little nice chokehold while I'm popping
him on him. He's probably a good 5 inches shorter than you.
Yeah.
And probably a good 30 pounds lighter.
At least, yeah.
So, I mean, he was a running back. He was a scat back. He was a really great athlete.
I
didn't like the disrespect towards coaches,
No.
Yeah. And I feel like Albert, and just this is generally, I don't know, you are one of sort of the exceptions. I feel like money was kind of money was a pseudo exception, but Yancey would say as much time as they spent at a JUCO, you need that much time out of a JUCO to get the JUCO out of them. So if you spent a year at a JUCO, your first year is getting rid of the bad habits that you picked up at a JUCO. And I feel like that was in Albert's first year that he was there. And so he still had a pretty good amount of bad habits. And mouthiness apparently was not tolerated in some circles.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I've had my qualms and quarrels and my dysfunctions and my trials and tribulations, and I always try to think like, man, be honest, like just be truthful regardless if it hurts. Be respectful as best you can to those closest to you, in a way that's don't blatantly disrespect somebody. I can look back and I've disrespected a lot of people, but not blatantly. Like maybe some teachers in college, I didn't show up to class very often. That's very disrespectful, but it wasn't blatantly like, hey, screw you, man. Like, I'm not coming to your class. Like, so whenever he did that to one of our coaches, I'm like, hey, man, like, that's not cool. That's not how we're going to be as Cyclones, like, especially here in the practice facility, here as a football team, as a football player, like, we're not going to work that way. So I had to make sure and help him learn that lesson. That's
good. No, that's good that you did. And I'm sure, I don't really remember the incident that much, to be honest, but I'm sure that earned, some respect from the guys. What were you going to say about, you said you had a story you were going to bring up
about Greg getting chewed on the sidelines?
And I vaguely remember it's a cold day, we're all practicing, and I think we're outsider for some reason. And all the kicking squad is over there in their sweatpants and just bundled up, just chilling, hanging out. And I look over and I see coaches being like, what the hell are you guys doing? You're doing nothing. And whatever came of it, you guys had to go take all your pants off and just stand there in your shorts and like shiver the rest of practice.
So you're partially right. So it was, and that may be true, but also at Kansas, my freshman year. So it would have been.
That is when it was.
Or
because that was a really cold game in Lawrence.
It wasn't my.
That was when Preston split his head open.
No, it wasn't.
Yes, it was. And then Preston stole somebody's helmet with staples in his head, put his helmet on, went out for the next kickoff, and made the tackle again.
So I think it was at Kansas my sophomore year, because it was Coach Rhodes' first year, and I had missed a field goal, like a short one. He was already pissed about that. I missed a field goal. I'm pissed. I come back, I put my sweats on. I'm just chilling. He comes back, he's like, what the hell are you guys doing wearing these sweatpants? And I can't remember if Mike Branton was still there or not, but
he would have been there.
Yeah. So Chiswick allowed the specialists to wear sweatpants. And so we just kind of assumed, we didn't even ask Coach Rhodes, just kind of assumed, yeah, that's fine. We'll wear sweatpants when we're not doing anything, because we're just sitting on the sideline freezing our ass off anyways. And so Coach Rhodes told us to, take our sweatpants off, one, but two, that same game, Mike Brandner got too close to the heater and his sweatpants caught on fire. Not like a huge flame, but like enough to like put a hole in the sweatpants. Put a hole in his sweatpants and like singe his leg hair. So that was sophomore year at Kansas. And I had a bad game, and Coach Rhodes came over and he did give me a little chew him. That's probably the only time that I can recall getting chewed out.
Yeah, maybe that's what it was. Maybe it wasn't practice.
Yeah, Grant was handled respectfully and nicely, which most of the time the rest of us were too. I don't know. What do you recall the greatest ass chewing that you got from, whether it's a position coach or one of the strength staff? I do, and it was CO, and it wasn't even an ass chewing. And I think I've told on the podcast before, but we were doing the overspeed treadmills, like the sprints where it's like set it at 17 miles an hour or whatever. And I don't know, someone pissed in CO's Wheaties that day, and I was running in the same group as James and Chantrell and Tyler Leo and me. And I don't remember, I think there was one other person, but I was the only one that they knocked the speed down for. So it was like 17 and a half for everybody and then 17 for me. And I was feeling good, and we were doing sprints, and I was on the last one, or just about to go into the last one. I finished my sprint and I get off, like step off the treadmill. I look over at CO. I was like, hey, let me get 17.5. That was the speed that everybody else was doing. And CO goes, if you're so freaking smart, why don't you coach him? And I was like, I'm so small. I am so small. I just walked to the back of the line, and like, I've never felt tinier than at that moment. I was like, I'm going to stop talking for the rest of the year. No, I'm never going to say a word again. I don't know. Do you recall any substantial ass chewings from whether it's position coaches or the strength staff?
I never got a straight up ass chewing. I got more of like, because the only times I did wrong were outside the facilities. Regardless if it was class academics or, just maybe down on campus down past hours. But those were more like the mom and dad deals where it's like, we're very disappointed. And that hurt me more than anything.
Yeah.
But I do remember one time it was after we played Baylor. We're in the DN's room watching film, and Baylor's O-line is, you're not on the O-line for Baylor if you're not over 300 pounds and 6'5". That's like the minimum cutoff, I think.
They're big, yeah.
They're humongous, and I'm not very big for a D-end. I mean, you look at Sam Acho, and you look at other D linemen in the Big 12, like Ndamukong Suh at the time. I'm like, what is Jake Lattimer doing playing D-end? I'm 6'2", 250. But they're holding the piss out of me, and like they're bigger. I'm a little quicker, maybe not really, but they're holding the piss out of me. I'm like, is somebody gonna call it? Like, I'm like, somebody on the sideline gonna say anything? Like, they're holding me. Well, during film, it shows very blatantly. They're like holding the piss out of me in front of a ref. I'm like, see, nobody's saying anything. Like, why is nobody calling? Why is nobody going to bat for me? And Coach Bray goes, you don't think I wasn't going to bat for you? And I go, respectfully, Coach, like, nobody was saying anything. I didn't hear it. He goes, gosh damn it. He just slams his laptop. Rashad Parker at the time, Pat Neal, Rosie Majid, everybody's like, dude, calm down. I'm like, no, I'm not mad. I'm just saying. He didn't do it. Coach Bray's fired up. And he just slams the door. He's like, I'll be back. Gosh damn it. I'm like, okay, sorry. And everybody's like, dude, calm down. I'm like, I'm calm. I was just saying. And it was the maddest I've ever seen Coach Bray. Other than when he's drinking his coffee in the morning at 5 a.m. every Monday, because I do punishment runs for not going to class or showing up late to class or not turning assignments in. But yeah, that was the only time. I'm like, oh my gosh, that is the most fired up I've seen Curtis Bray ever.
He was a pretty calm guy.
Super chill.
That's whenever I realized that man was a terror when he played football.
Oh yeah, he was
that was the only time. I'm like, man, I'm kind of glad that moment happened between us though, because then I was like, he does have some killer instinct in him, because usually he's got his lip in, he's chewing on the sideline, just kind of calm and relaxed, So it was an experience where I was like, I didn't get my ass chewed out, but I know he wanted to kill me at the moment.
That's funny. We had Alexander Robinson, we had A-Rob on a couple weeks ago too, and I'd asked him this question. I want to ask you the same one. What were some, like, when you think back to your playing days, everyone says, if you ask a question, what do you miss the most? Everyone says the locker room time. Like traveling was fun, games are fun, but like just hanging out with the guys in the locker room is like what miss the most, camaraderie. But what are some memorable moments that come to mind? Like when you think back to when you played, good or bad? It can be individual moments or like game specific.
Really, as a football player, everybody's like, oh man, these football moments, this and that. But I love the weight room. Like when we'd max out and everybody's testosterone just sky high and everybody's slapping each other's back. Come on, man. Yeah. Like, let's fucking go. Just the energy and the juice that was flowing, man. Those were the moments I'm like, holy shit. Like, we're in here. If anybody stepped in this weight room at this point in time and was like, hey, we want to fuck with you. And I'm like, you see all these guys that are just blowing smoke and testosterone out of their head right now. Like, we would kill an army right now. Like, those were the moments that I missed a lot. And, you could say anything, do anything to anybody in that room. And like, it was almost like it was like a powerful moment of positive reinforcement, regardless if you're talking shit, like, oh, come on, you freaking, you wimp, whatever. We're not going to say that. Dude, it was just those times where like, dude, don't be a freaking bitch. Like, get the weight up. And then you just see freaking Ethan Tufte back squat 800 pounds. And you're like, good God, that guy could do a Mack truck if he wanted.
Yeah. Max out days were like the only days in the weight room I ever felt seen, because it was almost like when someone was under the bar, like people would stop and watch. Not that I was pushing weight, like a heavy weight, but it was the only time I felt like anybody aside from like the newest GA that was like on staff for 2 weeks.
On Gray group.
Yeah. On the Gray group. That was like the only time like I felt like seen, like, oh, like Grant actually does lift. Okay, cool. So
that talking about the weight room, that is a really interesting piece where like when people talk about missing the locker room, I think one of the things that is interesting is there's very few places in one's life where you can say exactly what you mean and have it be received in a way that is not not no ulterior motive. So like if you're, let's say I'm walking by, for the sake of it, your locker's shitty and like just messy or whatever, and I look over like, Jesus, Lat, when did you get out of the barn? And then like you'd be like, shut up and whatever, and you'd pick it up, and like in no way would that be like negative resentment towards somebody else. And the weight room and the locker room are the two places where like you could have a full out argument just like you would with your siblings growing up, and after you leave that room, it's like dapped up, shake, hey, good talk, man, good talk. And like that is kind of one of the cool parts just about the rooms. It is so unique in that you can say anything and it's taken with love.
There's two more incidents. One was in the weight room, and it was my first year there actually. So this is the time where I learned really fast the accountability piece, and it goes a little bit with Grant's pooping story. We're all locker mates next to each other. It's, Matt's 45, Dakota Zimmerman's 46, AJ Klein's 47, I'm 48. We're all just sitting there and we're talking, we're all pretty fresh to team except for Dakota. And I want to say that he's the one that kind of gave us this knowledge or inspiration to use this. Wasn't steroids, but it was like the Inno Explode.
Make your skin crawl.
Yeah.
Like it's this stuff that's supposed to be a pre-workout, get your
1,000 milligrams of caffeine. Jesus Christ. Yeah.
So I try it, I'm like, all right, let's, Explode. I need to get more energy. Well, the first time I try it and the only time I try it, we're like a little bit through the warm up and we're in the first like main lift, whatever the first tier is. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I've got to take a shit.
Yeah.
Like I gotta go. I'm like, and I'm in the gold group, the highest group. And I'm like, dude, Yancey, I gotta go. Like, dude, like diarrhea. And he's like, yeah, man, go ahead. Just like nonchalantly, go ahead. Well, I'm in there, man. Like I'm doing my thing. I might as well have had a newspaper, And I come back maybe 8-10 minutes later. I'm like, I come back in. The entire weight room is doing planks. And it was because I had missed my rep in my sets. Because He came to me and he was like, everybody just hold a plank until that gets back. And I get back and everybody's like, hurry up and get to your squat rack. I'm like, huh? What do you mean? They're like, we've been doing a plank for like 8 fucking minutes. And I get in and I'm like, oh shit. And Yancey's like, it's all right, man. Take your time. I'm like,
that's very much a Yancey thing too.
I didn't know that like everybody's gonna be punished for me having to go take a diarrhea. And I don't know if you guys were in that group, probably not, because I always did the latest group possible. I was not an early riser. But I remember that after that point, I'm like, I'm gonna go to the bathroom before I even step in that weight room, no matter what, because everybody was holding an 8-minute plank and so pissed off. And Yancey just afterwards, I'm like, hey, Coach McKnight, I'm so sorry. Like, I did not know that was the rule. He's like, now you do. And I was like, what? No precursor, man? Like, everybody's pissed off at the new guy.
Damn, that's so
brand new.
That is such a Yancey story, too. And we talked to him, and like, again, you get it, because that story illustrates exactly the point. Is like, he's out for the best interest of everybody. And like, you become a better person for interacting with Yancey McKnight. And little things like that, were like, I could tell you, hey, be quick. Or
but he did it.
I could give you a little bit of a better hard lesson that you are going to remember until you're in your 70s. Like, you ain't going to forget that story.
Hey, I learned it immediately, though. One of the other stories that I memorably just very much remember, and it involves Matt Toffel and I. And we're playing Colorado. He just got back from a broken leg, and me and Matt we're like brothers, man. We get on the football field, we're playing the game, whatever. It's a close game, and like we would have been bowl eligible if we won. And it's Matt's first game back after breaking his leg, and we're playing, and like I'm like squeezing down the line or something. I've made a few plays, and one play, I'm squeezing down the line, this running back, he bounces it out. Matt like sets the edge, and I just hear this, get him, lad, get him, lad, get him. And I'm like, I'm going to make the tackle, but I just hear this, get him, lad. And I like tackle the guy. I get up and he just like jumps on top. He's like, yeah, just like almost air humping me. I'm like, yeah, man, what the fuck are you doing? He's just like, dude, I'm so glad you made that play. I fucked it up big time.
Oh, man.
That's just like the relationship on the field. We're like, man, we're out there. People are talking shit to other people, and you just walk by and chip in too. He's like, oh, yeah, your mama's so fat. And you walk by, you're like, yeah, 600 pounds, bitch.
Did you have any like a go-to shit talking line? We've talked about it before on the podcast. How mine was, if I ever made a tackle or decleated someone, which I would do if you're just watching the kickoff, I would always stand over top of them, or when they would get up, I would tell them, get your weight up, bitch. So that was my go-to. Did you ever have anything that was your go-to?
You know, it was probably a little too inappropriate, some of the things I would say and do. But most of the time, I just let my work ethic, do the talk and the playmaking. It really kind of frustrated me whenever guys would get too into the game with their like smack talk. But that is, you get people on tilt and you get them off their game whenever you're kind of getting in their head. So I understand that's part of it, which is why I chimed in. But for the most part, I just, I would let my play do the talk. And that really upset guys the most, especially when they're talking back to you and you don't respond. And you just sack the quarterback and the offensive tackle's like, oh, you little bitch, can't do it again. And you look at him, you're like,
you just hit him with the
yee. Wait for another yee, pussy.
That's great.
I remember just talking about Matty T and just talking about in practice. I became granted, the linebackers that I was playing against were AJ, Jake, Matt Tuffo, and Jeremiah George. Were like the primary guys you're playing against. That's like 12,000 pounds of squatting. And I remember I had to become a better blocker because of Matt, because his center, he's like 4'9",
built like a shoebox.
He's a fire hydrant, and I think he's a 600-pound back squatter, and like just trying to block him, it's legit like trying to block a whiskey barrel. And which we have one right here, courtesy of Mississippi River Distilling Company. Anyway, but I remember that I had to become a better blocker. My leverage became better from playing Matt. Which offensive player do you feel like made you a better player, and why is it Kelechi Osemele?
It's actually not Kelechi. Although I do remember a lot of tussles and things with him. But Franklin, Hollywood.
Yeah.
Just because when I was an outside linebacker, I was a strong side linebacker, we do them, just gap drills, and we would have to they would down block or, base block or reach. And this first time I'm like one-on-one, I'm like, what? We're in a 2-point stance. They're in 3-point stance. I don't understand this drill. And he just absolutely, Hollywood was a strong freaking dude.
And
he's 6'6", he's huge dude. He gets under your pads, you're getting lifted.
Very handsome.
Well, whatever floats your boat, G. But I just remember we're over at Field of Dreams, and I'm just like, okay, I don't know what this drill is, whatever. And like he base blocks me. He's coming right at me, and he gets under my pads and just drives me about 10 yards. The whistle blows, and he's still driving me. I'm like, all right, dude, the play's over. But, he's an older dude. I'm a new guy. He's setting the tone. I'm like, holy shit. Like, this dude. And then next I go against Drew, go against who else is in there? Carter Bykowski at the time was a tight end. And I'm like, all right. And finally,
2 7-years.
Catlett was in there, and finally, like, gets back to Hollywood. I'm like, all right, I know this asshole now. Like, so anytime I went against Hollywood, I was prepared. And he'd like down block. Oh, I'd push him so hard in the back and just squeeze the gap down so hard he'd get pissed. And, I never let him base block me like that again. So that was actually one of the guys that really got me to really think and compete right off the bat there. Offensive lineman, obviously KO was a huge, massive man to go against. He was a left tackle, but most of the time I played the left side DN, so we're on the opposite sides. But we would flop every now and then. So Pat Neal, Roosevelt Majid, Rashad Parker were all kind of tasting him more than me. But whenever we did, it was definitely one of those times where I'm like, dude, you're not going to put me on my back. So, like, the gap might be a 10-foot gap, and I'm just going to let that slide. But we kind of stalemated most times, I would like to think. Probably not. There's film of it probably somewhere. But, yeah, there's guys like whenever Carter Bykowski did end up transferring to tackle, or Braden Burse is over there, those guys are huge humans. It just, helped you evolve into a better disciplined lineman, something that I'd never played until my junior year at Iowa State. So those were kind of the guys that really opened my eyes. And speaking of that, the first time I ever played in a game, my first year there, my sophomore year, we were playing North Dakota State. I think it was North Dakota State, the Green Jackrabbits, right? Something like that.
That's South Dakota State.
Something it's Jackrabbits.
No, the Buffalo or the Bison.
Bison.
Yeah. Yeah. Me and Raven were playing. Josh Raven were playing the Sam linebacker, and almost get a sack that game after I get some playing time. I'm like, yes. The next game was Iowa. There's this dude, Tony Moyaki.
Yeah.
He played tight end.
Mm-hmm.
He ended up playing for the Chiefs for a little bit and a couple other places. Big Polynesian dude, 6'5", 285. Stereotypical huge tight end. And I remember we're down in our own red zone where it's bowled in now. And I'm looking at the big Jumbotron at the other end, or it wasn't the new one. It was just the nice one that I thought was nice. But we get this yellow call. Shane Burnham puts up the telephone for yellow, which is man coverage. The Sam linebacker mans up on the tight end. Well, I'm like, okay, I can guard this dude. Maybe I'm going to interception if they pass it to him. Well, he takes a direct step up north, and I'm like, perfect. He's going out for a route. So I flip my hips. I'm going with him. He was not going for a pass. He was just coming straight on to block me. Gets under my shoulder pads, puts me on my back, feet in the air. I'm like, oh my gosh. Club up off of him, shove him down. Like nothing happens on my side. But I'm like, good gosh, I just got body slammed on national TV. And my oldest brother let me know about it. But that was the first time it was like, welcome to Power 5 football. I was Big 10, we're Big 12, I'm like, this is Division I football. These dudes are stronger than any humans on earth.
We just you just kicked your leg up there. We saw a lot of leg. Are you wearing pants? You don't need to stand up, but
well, I'm always rocking something Iowa State. So
where it actually
saw a lot of leg.
Dear listener, actually wearing pants.
Yes, he is wearing shorts.
Shorts.
Have you been back to an Iowa State game since you've graduated? Or you have any plans to come back to the game?
I went back for Coach Bray's funeral. So that was probably the last time I've been back to Ames, Iowa.
Bring your ass.
I do need to get up there, but the problem is I'm not a social media guy. One of my friends was like, dude, why aren't you ever on Facebook? There's 7,000 happy birthdays from the last time you posted. I'm like, when's the last time I posted? He's like, 6 years ago. It was some dogs or something. I'm like, yeah, dude, I don't really care much about social media.
I'm gonna poke you on Facebook.
The only thing I have is Snapchat, and even then, I'm not super I don't know. I'm not a social media guy.
I'm not either.
Amen,
sister.
I deleted Snapchat, but you had sent me some very graphic ones that.
You're the poop guy, and whenever I get G money come across my Snapchat, I'm like, all right, be ready to open this where it's not public because it's gonna be him pooping.
That's not true.
The poop already happened. He wasn't actively pooping. The poop already happened.
Yeah, I'd love to come up. Communication of hey, former player, you're invited, man. Something.
We'll let you know. We'll keep you in the loop.
We'll keep you in the loop
if we hear anything.
And also, if there are just kind of throwing this out there, if there are any former players that are also kind of in the same situation of not knowing where and when stuff's going on, hit us up. We'll at least try and communicate because I think one of the funnest parts about the summer has been talking with guys that we haven't talked to in forever. Money moved back to Des Moines to be closer to his son. And I got to talk to Money and there's a alumni thing for the spring game. And we got to do a interview, just talking to Money and just A-Rob, talking to him for a while. I don't know. Steel. Talk to Steel. But that stuff like that, I think it's enjoyable. So yeah, if there are any former players listening and you feel like you're not quite involved in it, hit us up. And we'll try and get at least enough communication to get people back up here.
I would definitely love to come up, enjoy the whole new setup that Iowa State has on campus, the university, the stadium.
And Sci-Town's gonna be done
next year,
and Sci-Town's gonna be
it'll be built in 2025, but probably not fully functional for another 4 years.
So that'll be kind of like a power and light district ish, but it'll be fun. So
yeah,
they'll have alcohol there. I know you like to have a beer.
Well, I don't like drinking too much, but when I do, I'm all natural.
Natural
Natty Light. Come
Natty
on.
Light. That's said.
Wide Ride Natty Light, baby. Whoever ran those websites were hilarious.
Oh boy. That's all I've got for him, Jeff. I'm not sure if you got anything else.
No, I think no, that's it. I mean, the only other thing would be like the discipline runs that you had, but I think we already talked about that with Coach Bray just sitting there being all stewing pissed off about it. But I don't know. You got to
Wally Burnham were not the biggest fans of it.
Wally's probably been up.
They're going to be up no matter what. So
yeah, Wally's been up.
I just wanted to get in extra good shape. I mean, cardio, you know.
I hear you.
Take advantage of it.
Do some full length barrel rolls of the field.
I did have to. I was talking with Matt Talfo earlier, and we were just giggling like third grade girls. You know, we ought to do some you guys ought to do some tandem 2 people interviews.
Oh,
we could feed off each other. And it's better, somebody else telling the stories instead of you.
Okay.
Because he brought up a couple of stories. I was like, what, dude? No way. He's like, yeah, remember you met me? We were in Freddie Court parking lot, and you were sitting on the tailgate of a truck, 30-pack of Natty Light, just sitting there drinking. And I walked up and was like, hey, can I have a beer, man? I was like, sure. Yeah, what's your name? He's like, Matt. I'm like, all right, cool. We're just hanging out. I had my skateboard out there. I was skating in the parking lot. It was the first few days I was there. I knew nobody. I hadn't seen the football team or anything. And we're just drinking Natty Light, on a truck bed. He thought it was mine. And then
wait. Whose truck was it?
Well, we're just hanging out drinking on this tailgate, and I'm skateboarding, and he's like, "Oh, are you very good on that thing?" I was showing some tricks. I'm skating, and he lets me ollie over him. He's like, "Oh, dude, that's awesome!" And we're just sitting there.
Yeah, you're not gonna skip over that. Who's?
We're getting there.
Okay.
And then he's like, "Yeah, man, he's like, I got to get to bed because we got practice in the morning." I'm like, "Oh yeah, no way, me too." He's like, what sport do you play? I'm like, football. I just got here. And he's like, I'm a football player too, man. So I get my rest of my beer, shut the tailgate, and he's like, hey man, can you give me a ride to the convenience store, get a chaw? I'm like, yeah, we'll have to go to my car. And he's like, this isn't your truck? I'm like, no.
So you don't know who's
it's just some random person.
I'm like, I don't know. I just need somewhere to sit down and drink beer for a little bit.
So if you had a truck parked at the Frederickson Court parking lot in August of 2009, you
probably
were the site of a Natty Light and a Dumb and Dumber Harry and Lloyd meetup that will live in infamy for the rest of time. God bless
Absolutely.
Jake.
It was a fun story for him to reminisce on. I was like, no way, man. He's like, no, I swear to God, that is exactly how we met. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, we didn't even know we were both on the same football team. We were just hanging out oh, what's up, man? Hey, bro. So it was a fun time.
That is great.
We were trying to talk and reminisce on what we remember about you guys, when we were first there and over our time period. And we were just Grant was always just he was this funny, charismatic dude, always kind of chippy and stuff. And we're
you know how to make a guy feel good, Jake.
The point where we're man, the best moment we remember is you and Zach Geyer had to have a kickoff, at a practice or something, because Paul Rose was getting pissed off at you. You missed a couple field goals or something. He's like, you know what? The best guy's gonna play then. And you guys had a kickoff, in practice. You kick field goal after field goal, you're tied up, and then all of a sudden, you make the last one or something. We're all right, Grant Mahoney's the kicker again. Because you got out of his good graces for some reason. I don't know what you did or what you didn't do.
Yeah.
But that's one of the moments. And then old Jeff Woody, man, we were talking about how we used to try to terrorize the running backs during practice. We were talking about how Seantrell Johnson and James White were kind of mouthy, and I always, after the play was over, I'd sling them down or push them or something, and always pop the ball out from underneath their arms, strip it. And Coach Pope's always getting pissed off at them, and even though it's after the play, it's not their fault. They're getting ready to let go of the ball. We're just swiping at it. Jeff Woody's the only one that anytime you see him, 2 arms, no matter what. And
protect the ball, man.
And, watch some games, 2 arms. Hardly ever you ever see that thing high and tight in one arm.
Jeff wasn't the kind of guy that's gonna, no offense, Jeff, run away from you or like really juke you or like, Jeff's just gonna, got my ball, I'm gonna bulldoze over.
Fundamental warrior, man, to the core. But it won you some spots.
Yeah, you know what? I was not fast for a running back, but I was fast for a football player. Yeah. But I was not fast for a running back. I admit that, and I would get run down by safeties all the time. So I just had to assume that I was going to get run down at some point, and I can't get loose with it.
And when you got your chance, you want to make sure you didn't fumble. So you
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Bingo.
Ball security, man.
That's right.
Hand the ball to the official. Hand the ball to the official. That's my Coach Pope impression.
But the last one, this is very embarrassing. My last embarrassing moment, but also, I guess it's kind of fun to reflect on now at this point. It involves Mama Lat hearing about some antics I pulled down on Campus Town at a place called Headliners, if you remember those.
Rest in peace.
Headliners dead. Where was Headliners at, Aiden?
It was on the corner.
Never heard of that.
It's gone now.
Oh, that's a baby.
If it's on the corner.
It's now CVS.
Yeah. It ended up changing to like Charlie Yokes or something weird.
Yeah,
and now it's like a hotel or something.
Before that, I think.
We're out one night and everybody's like just lets us in the bars, free drinks all the time. We're like, oh, okay, we're awesome, we're cool, we're royalty. I don't know what's going on at this point. This time, I'm maybe a few too many, but Headliners used to have like these big speakers on the stage. In the background, Headliners, and there's a picture that was taken of me on top of a speaker, no shirt, pants at my ankles, and I am visibly showing the mangina.
No way!
So tucked between my legs, and I'm just like hands in the air. Well, one of the girls took a picture. Everything is hilarious. Sends it to my older brother that she met, and he shows it to my mom. She calls me, goes, "You need to explain to me what the hell you're doing at some Headliners club with a thong on." I had the privilege of explaining to my mom what a mangina was through a picture that was taken of me during that time period.
My God.
So, that's one that is vaguely in my memory bank, and I'm just like, what were we doing? We didn't know what we were doing. We were living life.
Did you get kicked out?
I don't know. I was always welcome back. So it wasn't anything that was too permanently damaging.
Oh boy,
that's a good one to end
on. I think the only person that's going to ever have that story is Jake Lattimer.
With that, I will say thank you for your time, Jake. We appreciate you hopping on with us. This has been fun. Always good to catch up with former teammates, and we knew you'd be a good one.
Well, I appreciate you guys having me. It was great reminiscing.
For sure. Take care, man.
You guys have a good one.
We warned you. Dear listener, we warned you about the radio appropriateness or podcast appropriateness of the stories. And we kept it, I don't know, mostly
for him, pretty tame.
Pretty tame. The stuff we talked about afterwards was just even better. So, Lattimer's just as fun and nice in real life as he comes across.
He really is. He's the kind of guy too that you want on your side in a dark back alley. He's someone that you not drunk. You want him sober if he's, I guess, either way.
Yeah, either way. But also like the kind of person that so he's an elementary school teacher, and I think the sweetness of his personality is that lines up really well with that. Like and he talks about kind of respecting and just making sure that never intentionally disrespect somebody, and a lot of that kind of personality lives inside of Laddie. So I think the kind of person you would both trust your kids with, and also if a guy's talking trash and you need someone to back you up, is this also the same type of person? So I don't know. Good to talk to him again. We do need to get him and Maddie T on there, because that would be.
I like that idea.
Talking about appropriate stories.
He had, obviously this podcast is just shy of an hour, but he had probably 10 more stories he wanted to share with us that I think some still could be appropriate for our podcast. But yeah, when he and Matt get together, I feel like we just give them the mics and
just say,
go.
Coach on Aiden, just have the Ducks very ready.
Yeah.
For that one.
Ducks getting their workout this week.
The Ducks are getting their workout.
Got a flock.
There is a full V. There is migratory ducks all the way through.
Great movie.
I haven't seen it.
Migration's good movie. I was referring to D3 Mighty Ducks because
got it. Flying V. I thought you were talking about Migration.
The knuckle puck the goalie. D3 is a great movie. I watched it every day. I came home from elementary school almost every day. But Migration is also a fun movie.
I haven't seen it. You got anything else?
I'm a big animated movie guy. Monsters Inc. is my favorite movie. So that's all I've got, though. You got anything?
No, I think that's it.
Perfect.
Like I said, we apologize if you listen to again, just like the Kelderman read in the intro. If we warned you, if you listen to the kids who listen to it with your kids in the car and they learn the term mangina, that's not on us.
Yeah. Is that why my Ken doll looks like that? We got more fun guests lined up, so I hope the listeners are enjoying this. And if you are still listening right now, I appreciate your loyalty. And as always, remember, adopt, don't shop.